Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations, got some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw, and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar, grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, Barflies? Welcome to Basketball at the Bar. Join us live every weekday for the best NBA podcast here on YouTube, where the takes are hot and the drinks are cold. There's no dress code and you can take us wherever you go. So pull up a stool, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe. This is Basketball at the Bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. All right, Calvin, it is a happy holiday. It is Wednesday,
holidays,
April 20th, here in the Basketball at the Bar studios. We have an amazing lineup for you guys today. We talk about the Devin Booker hamstring injury. We dive into the HBO series Winning Time and why they might be in some legal issues with Jerry West and a few others. We recap all 3 games from yesterday's action, and we give a preview on 3 games that are going to be happening today before we dive into Q&A as usual. Calvin, how is your Wednesday so far?
So far, so good. We got a nice green neon background here to celebrate.
Yeah, it is
3
exciting.
great games to celebrate with as well.
It is very exciting. Let's go. All right, we're going to jump here right into the show right away. So, unfortunately for the Phoenix Suns fans and people like me that picked the Suns to win the championship this year, Devin Booker comes out of the game last night. 25 minutes of action, 31 points, 7 of 11 from three-point range. He's shooting incredible. He comes up limping with, it seems like, a hamstring strain that the team has said is minor at this point, but he is ruled out indefinitely. What does this mean for Phoenix? What does this mean for Devin Booker?
Well, for Phoenix, it means they're going to have to pick up the slack. I mean, they're the best team in the league. They have been all year long, but he's arguably their best player or one of their 2 best players. So it's going to be tough for them, especially with the way that New Orleans has been playing as of late. We've seen that they have no confidence issues or anything like that. They're here to play. So it's not a good situation for Phoenix. If there's any team, I think, that can recover from this, Phoenix would be one of the teams that I would pick. Chris Paul is still playing.
Yep.
DeAndre Ayton is still playing. Mikal Bridges is still playing. But they're going to need bigger offensive outputs now from guys that don't normally provide them, 25 points in a game. I'm looking at DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges specifically for that, but it's going to be a team effort, I think. As far as for Devin Booker, Woj reported early this morning that they're still waiting for more MRI results on the hamstring, but it is looking very, very doubtful that he'll play in either games 3 or 4 in New Orleans. So it's clearly a big blow.
Yeah, and on top of that, New Orleans actually gets the win in that game too. Right. So they are heading back home. They stole home court advantage from the Phoenix Suns, and the Phoenix Suns lost their best player. I think the best player in the series, and now New Orleans might have the best player in Brandon Ingram. You and I had talked about the main concern with Phoenix was the Chris Paul injury, right? Was whether this guy can make it through the playoffs. We see their young star in Devin Booker going down, and looking at his history of hamstring issues, it's a smoking gun for me at this point, right? Like, the dude has had at least 7 different hamstring injuries while he's been in the NBA. It's absolutely incredible that he's able to come back every single time, but he just seems to keep injuring the same part of his body over and over. That doesn't help. I also want to give a shout out to Mikal Bridges because I saw an article today that he has not missed a game in 7 years, almost 450 games since NBA, incredible. College, all that stuff. The last time I heard of a streak anywhere close to that was Russell Westbrook. Yep. It's going to be tough for Phoenix, and they definitely need these other players to step up for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, next up in our news today, the producers of Winning Time were served not a do not continue, but basically an ultimatum by the Jerry West camp saying that they are not happy the way Jerry West is being perceived in the series. There is a quick disclaimer in the intro of every episode saying that this show is based on real events, but there's also, a bunch of movie stuff in there, right? And just doing things to make people...
Maybe they need to add the South Park line about how everyone is impersonated poorly.
But he is not happy with the way he is being portrayed. I don't blame him because he is portrayed as an angry, drunk man who has a lot of past pain from losing with the Lakers team. I don't know how much. Being nice. Yeah, I don't know how much of that is really true or not. But it's kind of entertaining the fact that he is angry over him being portrayed as an angry person.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't seen the show, you should go watch it. All you have to do is watch the first scene that Jerry West is in, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. And you'll understand why Jerry West, as the real person, would be unhappy with the way that he is portrayed in the series. So.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that it took this long. Kareem is also not happy with the way he's being portrayed. Some of these other guys are not happy with the way they're being portrayed. But as a fan,
really the only guy who's being portrayed in a positive light is Dr. Jerry Buss.
Right? Like
there's some gray area in that. Yeah. But he comes off as like the mastermind, the guy that's able to calm everybody down, the leader, the adult in the room, and all that stuff. So, and John C. Reilly does a great job playing him.
Yeah, so far Pat Riley seems to be portrayed pretty well also, but as a fan, I love the show. I think it's really entertaining. I could understand why people would be upset because these characters have their names. They're basically based off of them, but they're exaggerating because they want people like us to watch, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you'd be silly to think that this is exactly how these guys are in real life. It's Hollywood. They're going to dramatize everything.
Yep.
But the question is, how close is it actually to being the real deal?
Yep, that's true. All right, let's move on here. We had 3 amazing basketball games yesterday. First off, the Atlanta Hawks visited the Miami Heat. They lost by 10 in this game. Jimmy Butler put up 45 points. Bogdan Bogdanovic led the Hawks with 29 points. The Heat go up 2-0 in the series, and now they are headed back to Atlanta. Trae Young was able to do a little bit more in the second game than he was in his first game of the series. But Calvin, what are your thoughts on just this overall matchup and how this series has gone so far?
Well, I'm not surprised how this series has gone so far. Atlanta, give them a lot of credit after a really tough game one that they were not in, pretty much from the beginning. They battled their way through this whole game. I don't want to say they gave Miami their absolute best punch, but they definitely threw some punches in this game. Bogdan Bogdanovic, as you mentioned, was one of the only reasons that they were in this game late. The guy caught absolute fire in the fourth quarter, 5 of 10 from 3, and he led the way with 29 points off the bench for them. It's just going to be too much for them to overcome. Like that, they've got to think that they played, one of their better games minus the turnovers. That's really going to be one of the key things here for me with Atlanta, and that's just credit to Miami's defense. Trae Young with 10 turnovers in this game, the team with 19. Atlanta led the NBA in fewest turnovers per game this season, and Miami's defense has been able to speed them up, put them in uncomfortable situations, and get steals that lead to fast break, easy buckets. A lot of dunks from Jimmy Butler in this game. And that's the other difference for me. Miami is so well-rounded, so balanced. Atlanta probably thought after game one, okay, we survived we didn't survive, but we took Duncan Robinson's best game. Yep. Nobody's going to come out and do that again. And then you got a guy like Jimmy Butler who shot horribly from three all season long. He goes 4 of 7 in this game, 15 of 25 from the field. Jimmy Butler is one of those players that when the game really matters, when it's winning time, when the stage is brightest and biggest, he can do anything.
He's a star.
We talk about him this season having a down year because of the three-point shooting. People were really questioning his leadership. People say that Miami has no real stars on this team. Dude played like an absolute star in this game, and he will continue to do that when the moment is big enough, like it was last night. That's why Miami is such a dangerous team.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Hawks are definitely in trouble here. We saw John Collins return. He played in game 1. Now he started in game 2. 13 points for him, 6-11 from the field, 10 rebounds, a steal. But they need more. They need more from their big men. We've seen Clint Capella out with the hyperextended knee. I heard some good news about him yesterday. He's going to be reevaluated on Friday, but apparently he's moving in the right direction. It's just a matter of whether Atlanta can get a win at home and actually remain relevant in this series while they're waiting for a guy like Clint Capella to get healthy. He is the key to me. I'm picking Miami either way, but Clint Capella is the key to me for Atlanta even having a chance in this series.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely need him back. Trae Young is still the key for me. He's got to play better. I mean, 2 of 10 from 3, 25 points is a decent amount, but 10 turnovers and 7 assists. He's got to be Trae Young. He's got to be the guy that we saw lead them to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, that being said, they need contributions from other guys. They need Bogdanovich and Kevin Huerter and DeAndre Hunter to hit timely threes when they're given the opportunity. Gallinari, he led them in scoring in game 1, goes 0 for 6 from the field in this game. So they need their complementary players. But Trae Young has got to be the star that people expect him to assume that role that he's on that trajectory for here. 10 turnovers, way too much. For Miami, you just look at their roster and I'm like, Bam Adebayo only had 9 points in this game. Kyle Lowry only had 9 points in this game.
Yep.
Those two guys are capable of going off really at any moment.
Tyler Hero.
And that's another thing with Miami. It's like there's so many people who from game to game, all of a sudden they'll just show up and put in a huge offensive output. It makes it really, really hard to game plan against these guys.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Tyler Hero in that, right? Like, he had 15 points in this last game, only 6 points in the game before. You're only getting 21 points out of him. The dude averaged almost 21 points on the season per game. The Heat can definitely play better than they've been playing, and they are still dominating this Atlanta team. So, I think I predicted Atlanta was going to get 1 win in this first round series. I don't know if they're going to get any wins, but
yeah, it all starts on the defensive side of the ball for Miami. And to your point about Clint Capella not being there, that's one of the things that's really holding back Atlanta because they love to run that pick and roll game with him. He sets great screens to get people open, and they put teams in mismatches through that pick and roll system. However, Miami, because of the bodies that they have out there defensively, they don't have any of these huge tall trees, 7'1", 7'2" in there. They've got really skilled wing defenders, and they switch every screen. So it makes it really, really hard for a team like Atlanta to find space on the perimeter to get these three-point shots off that they desperately need to go down if they're going to win any game or win this series.
Yeah, and I'm critical here of the Hawks, but at the same time, the only thing Miami's really done in this series is won both games at home, right? So a lot of people say the series doesn't really start until you go on the road. So we'll see what happens in Atlanta. Teams generally shoot better when they're at home. The Hawks have not shot well in this series. They've been beat up by Miami. They've been dealing with injury concerns, health concerns. As we saw last night in the Phoenix series, it only takes that much time, and your best player is out with a potential injury that could linger. So the Hawks still have potential to get back in this series. The ship has not sailed for them, but they really need to have a good Game 3.
Oh, Game 3 is a must-win. I mean, you can't go down 0-3.
Yep. Anything else you want to touch on in this game before we move on?
No, I mean, Atlanta's obviously got their work cut out for them. They just don't match up well in this series, and it's going to be I think most people are going to be incredibly shocked if they are able to win 2 games in this series. I think Miami's got complete control of this one.
I agree. All right, our second game yesterday, we had the Minnesota Timberwolves visiting the Memphis Grizzlies. I didn't see any protesters on the court.
Yeah,
Calvin.
You lost your bet if you were over 1.5 protesters in this game.
Memphis comes back to tie the series 1-1, defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves 124-96, 23 points for Ja Morant. Anthony Edwards had a subpar game for him with only 20. Thoughts on the game and the series, Calvin?
Not surprised. Again, these two teams are young. They play with reckless abandonment. And Memphis totally got back to what they did best all year long in this game. They were the best rebounding team in the NBA. They out-rebounded Minnesota by 8, including plus 10 on the offensive glass, 14 offensive rebounds for Memphis in this one. They shot the 3-ball better. Neither team really shot it that great. But 60 points in the paint. Memphis led the league in that category to just 34 for Minnesota. They were able to turn the Timberwolves over. They forced 20 turnovers in this game and had 29 assists. And Ja Morant was Ja Morant, right? He just dazzled. He was able to get into the lane at will. And once he gets into that painted area, it's pretty much over because he's either going to score himself or he's going to find somebody wide open. And that's how they blew the lid off this game in the third quarter. This was a 9-point game with 10:45 left in the third quarter.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, Memphis is up by 32.
What are your thoughts on Steven Adams? He only played 3 minutes in this game, 0 points. He didn't score any points in the game before that. The game before that, he only had 4 points. So I know he only played 3 minutes in this game, but the fact that dude had 4 points total in the last 3 games, does that make you a little concerned?
No, it does not. First of all, he's not out there for scoring, and I think that Memphis is kind of trying to go away from playing their real bigger or their biggest lineup, right? They want to stretch the floor with shooters. They want to bring KarlAnthony Towns away from the basket, and they got Cat into foul trouble again. That seems to be the recipe for how to take down Minnesota. If you get him in foul trouble, he only attempted 7 shots in this game. They need him to be their best player. Anthony Edwards, don't get me wrong, he has been a revelation for them, and he's a huge reason why Minnesota is in this position. But they need Cat to be the big cat on this team.
Yeah, I think this team goes as far as KarlAnthony Towns takes them. We saw, in the play-in, there was a moment where Towns, got kicked out of a game. He fouled out. The other guys were able to step up, but that's just one game, right? This is a full 7-game series. We saw them take game 1. Now it's tied. It's heading to Minnesota. So just like the other series, you could say if I'm Memphis, Minnesota, I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I stole home court, and I'm heading back home. But, yeah, they need to find a way to get Towns more involved and keep him out of foul trouble because that, like you said, is probably the key or the Achilles tendon of this Minnesota team.
And the battle of the 2 benches in this series is another thing to keep watching. Both these teams are really high scoring. They play at a really fast pace. You can see that by the fact that both teams played a ton of guys in this game. They're trying to keep fresh legs. But Memphis, got huge contributions from their bench last night in game 2. I mean, we're talking about, what is this? 26, 39, 49 points combined from 4 players off the bench for Memphis.
I'm just going to throw this out here. Minnesota is 2-0 when there is a protester on the court. There was no protester.
Expect the protesters to be
no win. So
in Minnesota.
If I'm going back to Minnesota, I'm telling all my security staff, let the protesters on the court.
Bring them on.
Because we're undefeated.
They should be handing out glue at the games. Every free bottle of glue.
Glue yourself to the floor if you can. Yeah, that's all jokes aside.
Everyone glue yourself to your chairs.
All jokes aside, Memphis was able to snap back into it after a humiliating loss in game 1. I don't think anybody is predicting Minnesota to win this series. So Memphis, they're right back on track. I know one person who is. He's not in the chat yet. At least I don't think he is. But who is that?
My man Priest.
Oh, yeah.
I
did see
has Minnesota upsetting Memphis.
We will see. Depends on how many more protesters there are, right? Jaren Jackson bounces back, 16 points, 7 rebounds, only 1 block in this game. But I'm pretty sure he'll take a win over 7 blocks any day, right?
No, it's funny because I expected him to have a big bounce-back game right after being in foul trouble, only plays 24 minutes in the first game. He only played 3 more minutes in this game, scores 16 points, but it was his efficiency from 3, 4 of 7 from downtown. I'm not sure he hit a single 3 in game 1. Yeah. Having that floor spacer out there from your big man, it just changed everything for Memphis. Opens up the middle of the floor, which for a team that is number 1 in the league in points in the paint, that's exactly how you want to get inside and attack.
Yeah, Memphis was up by 32 points at one point in this game. They were able to limit their turnovers to 12 while turning over the Timberwolves 20 times. They outshot them in this game. It's just a good overall win by Memphis, flexing their muscles, showing they're the superior team, and I expect them to get back on track and win this series.
Yeah, definitely want to see how KarlAnthony Towns responds in Game 3.
Yep. All right, in our third game of yesterday, a very surprising game, and this is actually a game I was most excited to watch, and New Orleans Pelicans win the game 125-114 over the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix. We see Devin Booker come out with a hamstring injury after scoring 31 points, but Brandon Ingram, 37 points for him, almost a triple-double, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, a steal, a block. Just an overall amazing performance by him. Calvin, moving on here, is Brandon Ingram the best player on the floor for both teams?
I'm not ready to say that yet, and that's just because of the way Chris Paul has played in this series. He went for 30 points in Game 1, double-digit assists. He has another double-double in this game. He almost willed them back at the end there before New Orleans really pulled away. 14 assists, no turnovers in this game. So Chris Paul, to me, is still got to be mentioned up there at the top. But Brandon Ingram definitely won this round. That's for sure. And C.J. McCollum had a great game, too. He was very close to a triple-double in his own right. We talked about Devin Booker being out, and of course that's going to hurt the Phoenix Suns. But they're the number 1 team they have been the number 1 team in the league all year for a reason. I don't expect the New Orleans Pelicans to shoot 57% from 3 again in the series. So no reason to panic right now if you're Phoenix. One game, it's really hard to sweep a team. It's really, really hard to. Now, if they go to New Orleans and they lose again and they're down 2-1, then we got to talk. They got some problems. But I've got faith in this Phoenix Suns team at the moment.
Yeah, here's another series, right, where they're able to split the games. New Orleans basically stole home court, and they're heading to Phoenix here. But Game 3 is going to be huge. As Calvin mentioned, Devin Booker's out. We're not sure how long he will be out. Phoenix will need to step up. They'll need to find some more production from some of their other starters or off the bench. They are a very talented team, and I think they are capable. I did not choose this as a sweep. I picked it 4-1 Phoenix, so maybe that's the game that New Orleans wins. But as Calvin mentioned, Game 3 is going to be really critical. If New Orleans can pull out a win in Game 3 in Phoenix, I might be a little concerned as a Suns fan.
Yeah. The Suns need to figure out how to get Jay Crowder out of his slump. This is a guy who's got tons of playoff experience, has been a really reliable outside shooter for this team and for a number of teams now for quite a long time. He put up the legendary 1-1-1-1 stat line in game 1. I had 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 1 block. I think they said it was the first time anybody's ever done that in a playoff game. 0 for 5 from 3 last night, just 5 points. They need a little, especially with Devin Booker out, they need more from him.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm Phoenix, I'm leaning on him, and I'm leaning on DeAndre Ayton. Mostly Ayton for me, because I know he's in a contract year, former number 1 overall pick. If I'm the coach of the Phoenix Suns, Monty Williams, I'm looking DeAndre Ayton in the eyes, and I'm saying, dude, I need you. Yeah. Show me why we brought you here. Let's get you this max deal.
Exactly. You want
now
to get paid.
Is your time to perform.
Now is
10 points, 9 rebounds is not enough for him. I think he had 21 in game 1, but without Devin Booker, Chris Paul and Ayton are going to need to have a better connection, and they're going to need some more offensive output from DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, definitely. And we're talking about a big man who is incredibly skilled, has a really nice, shooting form. He can score from a lot of places on the court. It's not one of these big men that we're talking about like a Rudy Gobert where they need more offense from him, but he can't manufacture his own offense.
Yep.
DeAndre Ayton can definitely get his own shot. He needs to be more of a dominant force inside.
If you're Monty Williams, who are you starting at the 2 in game 3?
That's a good question. I'd probably go with Cam Johnson. He's been one of their top guys off the bench all year long. He's been one of the best three-point shooters in the league all year as well. So he led them off the bench with 11 points in game 2. I'd probably choose him if I was making the lineup.
You don't like Landry Shamet?
I like Landry Shamet a lot, and he started a lot of games for them too. But, I mean, it's probably either one you could go with. Johnson's a little bit bigger and longer, so you can use him, defensively on Brandon Ingram and stuff like that in a switch. Either one of those guys I think makes a lot of sense. It doesn't matter to me.
I think it's key, when you're bringing guys in off the bench to fill a starting role for a guy like a Devin Booker, that you don't pull too much off your bench, right? Like sometimes you don't always want to take your best player off the bench and put them in the starting lineup, because then when your starters come out of the game, the bench struggles. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring in to start at the 2, because, they're starting 2 wings in Crowder and Bridges. So, they could go bigger or they could go smaller. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. This was just an overall exciting game. I can't wait to see the next game. Herb Jones stepped up, played much better than he did in game 1.
Yes. That was big for New Orleans.
Yeah, and New Orleans is still playing this huge lineup with Jackson Hayes and Jonas Valanciunas starting next to each other. Do you like this? Do you think Phoenix should go a little bit bigger to try and counteract this, or do you go smaller and stretch the floor and put pressure on a guy like Jackson Hayes?
I think I don't know if you try to match. I wouldn't necessarily play big just to match Jackson Hayes and Jonas Valanciunas inside. When you look at the rebounding in this game, Phoenix got out rebounded by 10. And Valanciunas has been, a monster on the boards all year long. But I like what the Suns have done all year. Their balance outside. They've got a ton of shooters. I don't think you try to switch things up and throw like a Bismack Biyombo out there with DeAndre Ayton. That's just not who they've been all season long. And they won 64 games this year. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep the shooters outside. Make Jackson Hayes play defense away from the basket. Stretch the floor. All that stuff.
Speaking of Bismack Biyombo,
and then you got to rebound it, as a collective unit.
Yeah, I know the Phoenix Suns were stoked on Bismack and what he's brought to their team. I think he was brought in on a two-way deal. Performed quite well for them. I can't even remember the last time I saw him in the NBA. Maybe it was with Charlotte. Or maybe Orlando, but he's been playing well with them. They brought him in full time, and they're excited about what he brings to the team. It's just a deep team getting even deeper here.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget they have JaVale McGee coming off the bench as well. That's another guy who you could say start him next to DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, 10 big points for him.
Got some serious shot blocking in the game then. So it's definitely an option. We'll see what Monty Williams decides to do.
Yeah, it's always good to have options. Anything else you want to mention about that game, Cal, before we move on?
Phoenix Suns fans, don't panic. It's one game. Remember, the Pelicans shot 17 of 30 from three in this game. I think that's a franchise playoff record for most made threes in a playoff game for New Orleans. That's probably not going to continue. And they won by 11, but this game was still a very close 1-2 possession game with just a few minutes left in the fourth quarter, despite Devin Booker being out. So it's definitely not over. I don't think any Phoenix Suns fans are thinking it's over yet, but there's a lot of games left to be played.
Game 3 is another story.
It's a big game.
And it's kind of funny, right? Because it takes you back to the momentum, right? Where New Orleans has obviously played more games than Phoenix because they were going in. They didn't have the week off for the play-in tournament like Phoenix did. And Phoenix was like, oh, we're going to get healthy. We have time. We're resting. New Orleans was figuring things out and working harder and getting better as a team during that week. I know it's only one game. They're tied 1-1 at this point, but it'll be interesting to see what exactly does happen in game 3. New Orleans, to me, is a completely different team than they were the first half of the season.
Oh, they are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Their commitment to the full court press on defense, they're one of the only teams in the NBA that plays the full court press for the majority of the game like they do. And then they're on offense, they've just been completely transformed by CJ and Brandon Ingram. They're looking like a really, really tough 1-2 punch.
Any thoughts on the Zion Williamson?
No new thoughts. I mean, if he gets out there, it's going to be very, very fun and exciting to see what this team potentially could look like.
He says he's healthy. The team says he's not.
Yeah, so they've had this difference of opinion for quite some time now. But I think people got to remember, this is very similar to the Ben Simmons situation. This guy hasn't played in a really long time, and now you're asking someone who, unlike Ben Simmons, we've been worried about their endurance levels, their weight, all that stuff, being able to stay in playing shape. And now you're talking about putting them again into a playoff series against the best team in the NBA. The deck is really stacked against you to perform at a high level when you consider all of those factors here.
And no one's been worried about Ben Simmons' weight.
Yeah,
either.
No one has been worried about that.
So I don't know exactly where Zion's in that, but the team could definitely use him. It could be a big boost for them. I'm interested to see if New Orleans wins Game 3, if the Pelicans franchise is like, all right, Zion, if you really want to play, we'll let you play, right? Because that's your chance. That is their chance. If they go up 2-1, they have one more game in Phoenix, and then they're coming back to New Orleans. They have a chance to bring in a star or a potential star in Zion, and Devin Booker is out for maybe 2 or 3 more games. That could be huge for them.
Yep. Yeah, Game 3 is a must-win for both teams.
Yep.
I mean, everybody probably knows they always put the graphic up in a series when it's tied 1-1. The winner of Game 3 goes on to win 70-something% of the time. So it's a very big game. And I feel for Devin Booker, too. I just got to say this at the end. I mean, this guy could have had one of the all-time legendary playoff performances. He had all those 31 points at halftime.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, speaking of Ben Simmons, we're moving on here. Calvin, we have 3 games on the schedule today. Brooklyn at Boston. We know that's going to be a fun game. Philadelphia at Toronto, the first game that Matisse Thybulle is not eligible to be available for. And then we have Chicago going to Milwaukee. Let's jump into this first game. Brooklyn at Boston. Brooklyn is down 1-0 in the series after an amazing late game layup by Jason Tatum. I thought Brooklyn was going to win that game. I think a lot of people thought Brooklyn was going to win that game. We saw Kyrie Irving getting fined yesterday $50,000 for flipping off fans and all that fun stuff. What are we going to see in Game 2, Kyle?
We're going to see fireworks. Obviously, everyone is super, super excited about this series, this game. It should be another very tightly contested matchup. I think we all expect the big four in this game to play really well. That's Brown, Tatum, Irving, and Durant. It's going to be about the others in this game and in this series who's able to pull it out. Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, the Nets desperately need bigger contributions from them. Seth Curry's got to be able to get some space on the three-point line and get some good looks at the basket. And then defense. That's what Boston has hung their hats on all year long, or especially in the second half of the season. Brooklyn has not been a good defensive team all year. They've got to take that part of their game up another notch. But it's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too.
And the Nets got to find a way to keep Andre Drummond out of foul trouble.
Yes.
They need him to stay on the court.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very exciting game just because of the players on the court, not even to mention the whole Kyrie Irving in Boston situation,
Did you
too.
see Marcus Smart's outfit today?
I did not. I missed it.
He showed up to the game wearing a custom-made boxing defensive player of the year robe. Green and black.
That's awesome.
It's pretty sweet.
I love Marcus Smart. That guy is awesome. Looks like Boston has pretty much an 88% chance to win this game according to ESPN.
Which is insane. It should not be that high.
Don't know if I agree with that. Ben Simmons is listed as out. He is questionable for Game 3, Game 4. Robert Williams is out for the Boston Celtics. And the Nets are given 3.5 points on this game. You think that's enough?
But they only have a 14% chance to win.
Yeah, that's really wild. It really is. Who are you taking in this game, Cal?
Man, I want to pick Brooklyn because I think this series is going 7 games, so I'm expecting it to be evened up here. Kyrie Irving, I think, is going to have another phenomenal game. I think Durant will shoot a little bit better than he did in Game 1. Those two guys obviously have to play, like the best players, two of the best players in the world for Brooklyn to have a chance here.
Yeah.
And then, like I said before, who else is going to step up? Are they going to use Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge at all in this series? Can they get anything out of those guys?
Yeah. I agree with you. I feel like both teams' star players are going to play well in this game. But for me, I feel like this game is on Kyrie Irving. I feel that his interaction with the crowd, how he is able to feed off of that, is going to be really important in this game. I could see him either, flourishing and embracing the dark side, as he said, and going for 45 points and the Brooklyn Nets winning this game. I can also see him getting frustrated with the fans and missing some shots late in this game because he's more worried about what the fans are saying than what's actually happening in the game. And that's not a knock on Kyrie Irving at all. That's just straight up like he's in a bad atmosphere, a bad environment for where he's at. And he hasn't proven to me 100% that he can ignore those distractions.
Well, he may not have proven that he can ignore them, but I think he's proven, at least in a small sample size for this series, that it might not matter. I mean, he still had 39 points. I think the guy is going to be completely laser focused in this game. He might as well be called Tupac because it's all eyes on me right now for Kyrie Irving. And I think he delivers in this situation.
So you think the Nets win this game?
I will pick the Nets to win this game.
Okay, I'll ride with you on that one. Our second game of the day, we have the Philadelphia 76ers leaving the country, heading to Canada to face the Toronto Raptors. As I mentioned, Matisse Thybulle will be out due to the vaccination mandate. Not sure if it really matters, though, Calvin. Philadelphia is up 2-0. They're going for a commanding 3-0 lead today. What do you think happens in this game?
Well, Toronto is going to have to play, about as good as they can play to get a win in this series. Period. They've got so much going against them right now. We talked about in game 2 how they really came out looking like they were the aggressor. The first 5-6 minutes of the game, it seemed like they had kind of flipped this switch, and maybe they were going to get back into this series and knot it up. Yeah. VanVleet and Siakam were looking really, really great. They were the 2 best players on the court. And then all of a sudden, the tide just switched because Philadelphia is able to get to the free throw line at will. It slows the game down. They get Toronto Raptors in foul trouble. And then Toronto just doesn't have enough offensive firepower to keep up at that point.
Yeah.
So Toronto's got to find a way to muck this game up. They need more deflections. They need more loose balls. They need to get out and run. They have to try to get stops on defense so they can start offense early, because when Philadelphia gets set in the half court, it's impossible for Toronto to score inside. They're heavily reliant on the three-point shot. OG and Anunoby had a really good game in game 2, but they need guys like Gary Trent Jr., who's been a really solid player for them all year long. He's battling an illness right now and has really not played much at all. When he has played, he hasn't really done anything for this team. But he's a very reliable outside shooter, and that would really change things for Toronto if they had another guy to spread the floor like that.
Yeah, for me, it's the injury to Scotty Barnes that basically takes Toronto out of this series. I wasn't predicting Toronto to win this series anyways, but the injury to Scotty Barnes makes me wonder if they're even going to win a game. According to ESPN, Toronto basically has a 62% chance to win this game. They are favored by 2. I am going to flat out disagree with ESPN on this. I think that the Sixers are going to run away with this game. I don't know if Toronto's going to win a game in this series now.
Yeah, I don't really think that Toronto has much of a chance to win a game in the series either. The Scotty Barnes injury is huge. I think Nick Nurse is great at making, in-game or in-series adjustments. That's one of his strong suits probably as a coach, and you expect them to have a good game plan here. But they need a little bit of luck. I think maybe they need to open their rotation or open the bench a little bit more to try to keep guys with fresh legs late in the game. And they got to find a way to get, some of these big-time players for Philadelphia in foul trouble. I mean, Joel Embiid is just completely dominating inside. He's a huge load in there to deal with. Not many teams have the personnel to try to defend him, but he affects the game in so many ways, right? Shot blocking, rebounding. He can shoot threes. He can post up. He can pass. And he's one of the best free throw shooters in the league, who shoots the most free throw attempts of anybody in the league. So they got to find a way to attack him maybe early, try to get a couple fouls on him early in this game, get the crowd behind you, and ride that momentum, to the finish line.
Yeah, there really aren't many people that can defend Joel Embiid inside. And the guys that just pop up in my mind have already been eliminated from playoff contention. That's like Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Dwight Howard. He's still with the Lakers, right? So he's out. The only other guy I can really think of is maybe Andre Drummond, and they just traded him. He was his backup. They just traded him to the Nets. So unless the Sixers do face the Nets, I don't really know if there is anybody that can slow him down. Calvin, who are you taking as far as points today, Embiid or Siakam? Who scores more?
Who scores more? I'll go with Joel Embiid, but I will say Toronto will not win the game unless Siakam has more points. He's the guy for me because he's got the best matchup in this game. Embiid is not guarding him, so it's usually either Tobias Harris or somebody else that they bring in off the bench. Siakam has got to go all night long against that matchup. If he can get Tobias Harris a couple early fouls as well, that's huge for them to take him out of the game, because Tobias Harris has been feasting off of the fact that the double teams are going elsewhere and he's the odd man out. He's getting wide open looks at the basket.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only way that Toronto wins this game is if Philadelphia doesn't shoot well. Siakam gets off to a really, really hot start, and then Fred VanVleet starts making shots late in the game.
Yeah, he's got to be more efficient too. VanVleet only shot 40% from the field this entire season, and shot up close to 38% from three. So we know how deadly of a scorer, deadly of a shooter he is. He was an all-star this year, but shooting that low from the field is not going to get it done. He needs to be more efficient.
Yep. All right, our final matchup of the day, we have the Chicago Bulls heading back to Milwaukee to face the Bucks. The Bucks are currently up 1-0 in this series. ESPN's predicting Milwaukee to win this game. They have a 90% chance of winning this game. Matt Thomas is out for the Chicago Bulls. I believe Lonzo Ball is still out.
He is out indefinitely.
For the Bucks, we have basically Jordan Nwora and George Hill that are out. Calvin, thoughts on the game? Wow. Bucks are favored by 10.
Yeah, it's a huge spread. Well, my thoughts on the game are, the same as when we finished wrapping up game one here. Mm-hmm. I mean, Chicago got off to a horrible start. They had one of their worst shooting performances of the entire season, and it was still a one-possession game with a couple minutes left.
Yep.
So DeRozan went 6 for 25. Levine and Vucevic combined 4 of 20 from three. I don't think those numbers, just like New Orleans is shooting, ridiculously well, Chicago's not going to shoot that badly again.
Yep.
But that being said, they're going to have to still give their best effort to beat the defending champs who are clicking right now. And for Milwaukee, again, it's Chris Middleton for me is the X factor here. I'm pretty confident what I'm going to get from Giannis, what I'm going to get from Drew Holiday, but he's the third star on this team. He's got to be more of a big-time scorer for them. 11 points in game one, and they barely skate away to that 7-point win at the end. If he comes out and has 25 points in this game, it might be over before halftime.
Yeah. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm looking across the United States to the Phoenix Suns, and I'm saying we played them last year in the finals. It's looking like we could potentially face them again this year in the finals. Devin Booker's banged up. That is the last thing that we want for our team. So I do think that Milwaukee still wins this series. I think it's going to be a sweep, but my major concern for Milwaukee is getting out of this series healthy.
Yeah, I agree. And for the Bulls, they're relying heavily on a young guy in Patrick Williams, who was hurt for a lot of the season. They drafted him as 4th overall pick last year. They have high hopes for him, but his best contribution to this team is his length and his defensive ability. So he's getting some really tough matchups in this game, like Middleton, like Giannis. They need a big game out of the youngster, both offensively and defensively, if they're going to have a chance.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. So in a world where Chicago wins this game, what did they do right?
Well, they shot really well from three. I mean, the Bulls, for when they were number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference for a good portion of this year, that's how they were winning games. They were isoing the ball, letting DeMar DeRozan do his thing, and everybody around him was knocking down outside shots. Vucevic, Levine, Kobe White will be big off the bench. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to have to find a way to get key stops and rebound. Rebounding is going to be so huge because the Bulls are not one of the bigger teams in the league. And now with Brook Lopez back, Milwaukee's got length and height for days. So they've got to find a way to secure rebounds and get out and run again, get some early shots. This is another game where Milwaukee is a great half-court defense team. So the Bulls, if they can get transition looks, that'll open up wide-open threes for them. They knock down a few of those, and the game is completely changed. And if this game is close, a one-possession game down the stretch, I'm confident in Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan as closers for the Bulls that they can get a game or two.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game to watch, but I agree with you. If Chicago is going to win this game, they need to shoot amazing, and they need to take Giannis out of the game. Either that's going to be double-teaming him early, get the ball out of his hands, getting him in foul trouble, or just overall frustrating him, being physical with him. But Giannis is going to have a bad game.
Disagree with you there. If I'm the Bulls, actually, there's no stopping Giannis, especially in this matchup. The Bulls don't have anybody who can really cover him, so let him get 40. If I'm the Bulls, the more important thing for me is finding a way to keep Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday down. Mm-hmm. Because if Giannis is the only guy scoring for this team, you've got a chance.
He opens it up for all those other guys, though.
He does, but that's what I'm saying. Instead of committing 5 guys to him when he can easily just dunk over you, he's going to dish it out to these guys for open looks. Drew Holiday is the guy that's been, for me, the biggest reason why Milwaukee is back and looking like they could be defending champs. I mean, yes, Giannis has had another great season, mentioned for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year again, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But that to me is a formality at this point. Like he's one of the best players in the game. He's going to be in those conversations for a long time. But the reason a team is a championship contender is not because of one person. So you've got to try to take out the other heads of this monster, I think.
Yeah, it will definitely be an interesting game and an interesting matchup. That is for sure. All right, Calvin, what game are you most excited for today?
Oh, it's got to be Brooklyn and Boston. I mean, first of all, that's the only game, or I guess ESPN is predicting easy wins for all 3 of these teams. But I think this is going to be the closest contested game. All the extra stuff that comes with this game, the stars involved, the fact that it's the Boston fans against Kyrie Irving, all of this stuff is going to make for a really, really entertaining game. We could get 3 really good games today. I think the Philadelphia game will probably be a double-digit win, but these other 2 games could be really close. Brooklyn and Boston, though, I think that's the number 1 series that everybody wants to see right now.
Yeah, I am definitely excited for that series. That is going to be a lot of fun.
Tip off in about 5 minutes. So.
Yeah, also exciting. All right, well, we're going to end the show today like we always do with Q&A. I know there's not many people watching live here, but if anybody has a question, a topic, a subject, anything that you want us to cover, just go ahead and put it right in the chat. And we would be happy to answer or discuss anything that you guys are curious about. Also, while you're doing that, I want to give you a reminder that Calvin and I will be live on Thursday, tomorrow, again, at noon Hawaii Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or 3 p.m. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's why you're here. To give you another episode of Basketball at the Bar, where we have fun, we drink some beers, we talk about basketball, and we will be breaking down the games that happened tonight and previews of games that are happening the next day. We do that every single weekday, Monday through Friday. We will be here for all your basketball needs, all your basketball content. And, also want to announce we will be giving away a $250 Fanatics gift card. Keep your ears and your eyes peeled for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn on your notification bells so you find out every time we put out a new video. And that video will be released very soon with instructions on how to win that $250 Fanatics gift card. Calvin, if you win that card, what are you buying?
Ooh, good question. I got to look into that, actually.
Anything you've been eyeing in the team store there?
Well, I mean, I've been eyeing DeMar DeRozan Bulls jersey.
Okay.
But they haven't had it up on Fanatics.
You might be able to get
season long.
2 of those with a $250 gift card.
Might be able to. It's kind of like the Tyrese Halliburton situation.
Yeah.
Where they're just not in stock, so.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get one of those Miami Heat, the Miami Vice jerseys, the like baby blue ones.
Those are nice.
That they had a few years ago with the hot pink on them. I'm still trying to get that, so I know I'm not eligible to win the gift card, but
I am though. So
who knows? If you win and you want to split it with me, I'm sure we could both get a jersey. Anything else you want to touch on today, Cal, before we end the stream?
Let's have some fun watching basketball again. Every day gets a little better, right?
Yeah. No questions today, so we are shutting down the bar early. Another exciting day of NBA basketball. as Calvin mentioned, we still have a ton to go. This is only the first round. We still have the second round, then we have the conference finals, and then the NBA finals. And then, Calvin, we jump right into, the NBA draft, free agency, all that fun stuff. We have a packed couple months coming up.
Basketball never sleeps.
Yeah, basketball never sleeps. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Basketball at the Bar. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, make sure to tip your bartender.
Happy holidays.
I feel like Mike Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. Oof, hey, I gotta flex. I need a Nike bag, give me the check. I need the money and power, respect, but I promise I'm repping the O to the dead. Hey, oof, I told them out of my way. I don't got nothing to say. Now they can't run at my pace. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the game.